what is this really all about? Well, we know it's about getting free, but what does that really mean? Imagine having a stick of dynamite, so potentially powerful, yet unable to light it. That's what each and every one of you are. You have an incredible deposit of God, a tremendous kinetic potential right there. But you can't ignite it. You have not been able to ignite it. You have not been able to turn it loose. We've seen a trickle here, a trickle there, a vision here, an appearing here, a healing here, or whatever. It's all fine. It's really a partial. So it comes down to the necessity to really, really see and to understand what the stakes are here. I don't know if any of you understand the stakes. Ann and I are just really understanding what is at stake here. And we're not playing games with this whole thing of bonds and how people think about you. I tell you, I open up an email and it's like the books of Ephesus. They burned them because of what was in there. Not because of the teaching. The teaching wasn't good, but because of the energy of what could be transferred. The same principle as when Paul took a handkerchief and anointed it. He was able to convey spirit. Well, it's the same thing on emails. Electronically, that stuff is conveyed. Boom, 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 boom. So, we're talking about a very broad matrix here within all of our relationships, within all of our contacts that have really one sole goal, one single purpose, and that is to keep you blind, to keep you where you do not clearly see, you do not clearly perceive, and you do not clearly understand. The minute you see, the minute you really, really see, a change happens. And we talk about, you see the Lord, you're changed from image, from glory to glory. Yes, that's all scriptural. We know that teaching. It's certainly, we've talked about it. But I just want to take it from a different perspective. So we'll look at the same thing, but maybe from a different slice or a different direction. I want to look at it scientifically for a moment, from what I saw. And that is, what's missing in the equation within each of our lives that has a tremendous amount of understanding, perception, revelation to a degree, infusion of Christ, the impartation of the Lord within you? What's missing? There's something missing in this equation because you're only walking in the partial. And it's the same basic thing as if you're walking around with a stick of dynamite. You say, look at this. Boy, I've got this dynamite. This thing will blow this mountain up. And my gosh, yes, of course. Well, light the dynamite. Well, I don't have a match. Oh, what good is that going to do you? Well, so there's a point here I'm making, and that is that on a certain vibrational or energetic level, when you see, when it really comes alive, or, like I said the other day, when you experience the Word, something changes. You could call it chemical, or you could call it molecular. But within our being, there is a vibrational change that happens. I've seen it, I understand it, but it's very mystical, and what happens? There is a shift within you, and you become the blasting cap. Do you understand? You become the blasting cap. Does it mean you have to go and jump up and down and get really violent and just pray and hit the wall? No, not at all. You probably have to do that to get to the point where you start getting rid of the bonds, you get rid of the headaches, you get rid of the transference, that has just been dogging your tail, or that you have been accepting and allowing in your life, your unbelief, all of that stuff. Yes, you are violent, you are driven, like the Word says, the kingdom of heaven suffers violent, the violent take it by force. Absolutely. Because I tell you, when this change happens, you could say within the matrix of your energy, of what you are, the essence of what you are. You're not physical. I hope you realize that. You're not this flesh, this physical bone and blood. That's not who you are by any means. That might be a certain physical manifestation temporarily at this point, but that is not who you are. The spirit that resides in you, that the Father earnestly desires, is who you are. But it is an energetic being. You are an energetic being extension of the Father and of Christ that is so far beyond what this flesh is that we think is us. So what happens when the Word comes alive? When you hear on the level that you need to hear. Maybe that's a better way to say, because you can say, "Oh yeah, the Word came alive. I'm really, this is great." Well, that's fine. But I'm talking about hearing on a level that penetrates every fiber of your being and of your essence. Because when that happens, then there is a chemical or molecular change within your structure, and you literally have become the blasting cap that ignites the realities of who you are, what you are, and the promises and the prophecies that have been dormant. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying, but that's why there is such a drive in the Lord for this last 12 months on the issue of bonds. Because if you've worked on it and you say, "Okay, I've been there, done that, I've heard that," now then you never heard it from the get-go. You need to go back to last January and start all over and listen again. Here again, I don't mean to be sounding harsh, because this, there might be, I'm not really pointing any fingers at you, but I got all 5 of them pointing at me, because I have been working on this and going back over and going back over and realize that, I still haven't got it, I still haven't got it, I still haven't got it. Now I'm getting it. I understand. And it wasn't until very recently that the Lord made it very clear what is at stake. What is at stake here? Do we just think in a Pollyanna panacea that the kingdom is just going to happen because God said it's going to happen? I don't think so. I think He's put more in our court than we've understood. More responsibility, more stewardship, a greater mantle than we have understood. And it's so critically important that we see. Because in seeing, we are able to ignite the power of God, ignite the promises, the prophecies, and the realities that the Lord has for us. This is where we are, and this is what we're doing. And this is why everything is so critical right now. But I bless each and every one of you. Out of the hundreds that come to the site, I don't know if there's a handful that really are hearing what the Lord is speaking. If you're in the Spirit, you're going to hear the same word, the same drive, the same direction. Because the Lord is determined that this is the time that we become. We become. You think of resurrection life. I don't know how many of you think about resurrection life. Maybe it's easier just to think about smaller things, like getting through the day or having some finances. But I tell you, resurrection life is on the table. It's right here. We know Christ is the resurrection. We know our destiny is to enter into a transformation from one level of life into another. We know the Scripture says flesh and blood will not inherit the kingdom. But behold, God does a new thing. What is that new thing? You are that new thing. You are that new thing that God is doing. And when is He going to do that? Well, Ann and I had this discussion the other day about living in the now. I will say this. One of the names of God is Jehovah Jireh, which translated means the right now God. God is right now. When do we stop living in the future and stop living in the past, but live in the present? And that's imperative. Do I believe for resurrection life? Absolutely. When? Right now.